I awake in the dirt of a garden. From pelvis to neck, my body is covered. When I breathe, small pebbles and beetles roll low to a footpath. People walk by taking pictures of flowers. If I stretch, I can reach a thin tin pail of water. Pouring it over my sternum, I hear bones break apart in elegant stress. A row of haired carrot tops sink straight through my nipples. Their roots grab for vessels for spine, and I bite my lip while they steady their hold. Somewhere, a radio plays soft news of a shooting. A couple comes near holding drinks with umbrellas. I feel such weight lay heavy my stomach. See red heads of lettuce where I was told I have ovaries. This is called Fear and Greed Index, which is a real thing, according to Khalastchi in the Fine Folks at Marketplace. It measures the fear and the greed. Fear and Greed Index. We are rushed from our dinner. Men with axes tear down a wall near the kitchen, and a line is formed outside to give names and brief statements. What did you see? I saw a red dress on women, saw hands under tables. What did you hear? 2 chefs in a fight. Were you aware a child was being held behind the drywall? Yes. Between courses, I would go to make phone calls, watch her fed through cracks in the baseboards, pushing back bags of gray stool and dark urine. Why didn't you say anything? Who would believe me? My eyes have been nested. Robins and grackles weave wheat to my lashes, and twice a week I find eggs in my leg. In your leg? It opens like a piñata. Always at noon, I twitch and I cramp, and my tibia folds with a hinge to my ankle. When it happens, teenagers from my apartment complex wait in the courtyard with wax twine and buckets for a neighbor to wash off the sinew. We're sorry, sir. We thought this was a costume. A bunch of the poems in the book take the title Manileria, which was a word that I thought I made up. It turns out I didn't make it up, and it has a Spanish meaning, but we can talk about that later. I was thinking about what word you would use, what phrase you would use, what you would say when you don't have the words for what's going on around you. So I started to think of a phrase I used to hear my grandma say, which was, "Man alive." You ever heard somebody say that? And also the idea of the disease malaria, a disease that eats you and destroys you from the inside out. So I sort of combined them and came up with this phrase, Manileria, and a bunch of the poems take their title from that word. Manileria. Once we reach our cruising altitude, the steward hands me pretzels and a letter from the captain. Since the flight isn't full, it asks if I'd mind a few stops en route to my final destination. It also says not to look down. I do look down and notice there is no floor beneath me. Around my waist is a belt with my name and last known address branded in the leather. Around my neck, a garbage bag and string. When the fastened seatbelt sign is turned back on, I shake loose a shoe to the influx of air. In my chair, reclined with a blanket, I focus the reading lamp to the sounds of my stomach. If there are kids in the audience, this may be a chance for you to go outside and cover your ears. This poem is called What's Done. 3 girls in a brothel take me back to their mistress and wait. When she asks what's wrong, I look down at the floor. One of the girls I've been told to call China says I should be refunded. The mistress slides off her reading glasses and says someone needs to tell her what the fuck is going on. China nudges Lacey. Lacey gets sick. We all move away from the puddles she's made, and the third girl, Crystal, says it wasn't their fault. The mistress is getting fed up with the stalling and screams loud while tying her robe. The 3 women left are raising and raising and raising their sound when I put out my hand, and everyone stops. In the skin of my forearm, small fists push up at odd intervals. If I turn my wrists, whole bodies of babies can be seen in profile. Under the veins they move and sag, and when they touch, they appear to multiply. China tells me to take off my shirt, and I do it. She tells me to take off my pants and my shoes, but my socks should stay on until the mistress is ready. I stand there, naked, for some time. My penis erect from the heat and perfume, my arms heavy from the weight of their key. Crystal brings me a chair, and the mistress asks for a brandy. When it arrives, she nods, and I make to take off one sock at a time. I pull the left one down just past the heel, and the mistress hands me my money. Gray tails have pushed through my Achilles tendon, thrashing wildly for sense of location. To calm them down, I feed ice and cheese crackers to the space between my toes. Walking is difficult. On my stomach, I crawl to my clothes and get dressed. The mistress, my sweet, sends word for a taxi. And just because it's fun and there are people here, I thought I'd read some new poems. I've been working on a manuscript that's tentatively called Tradition that deals a lot with belief and non-believing and what it means to not believe and what it means to believe and not believing and all that kind of good stuff. There's a bunch of characters that pop up in the book. It doesn't really matter about that right now, but I thought it would be beneficial for you guys to hear the epigraph. It comes from a writer named Leonard Michaels, who if you guys aren't familiar with, he was a fiction writer that died young, and it was a travesty. He's a fantastic writer, and I highly encourage you guys to check out his collected stories at FSG, put out a couple of years ago. This little bit that I'm about to read to you comes from a story called I Would Have Saved Them If I Could, which was a reference to the Holocaust. I listened, now you listen. When the anti-Semites come to kill your mother, will it be nice to say you aren't a bar mitzvah? Don't you want to stand and be counted? Emergent Occasion Sonnet. You put a red-winged blackbird inside the exhaust exhaust manifold of my 1985 Buick Skylark, and when I start the engine, the bird has babies. We receive similar results using a three-legged rabbit, but when you place large amounts of cash against the hollow metal carriage, our arms are suddenly broken and you encourage further experimentation. Using my mouth to roll the ignition for the next 15 minutes, we experience transitive decay. Teeth are lost, you swallow your tongue. I see my kneecap stacked along the gear shift, but at your insistence I keep turning the key. Later that afternoon, when we are just salivating, box fans offending the neighbors, you ask what it feels like to irrigate a village using plastic animal ribs. The only time I've done it, I say, it felt like a theater. A theater, you say, like a theater with a tunnel leading to a crime. I'll read just a couple more. Hormone elevation sonnet. You wake me up saying, hurry, hurry, grab the chainsaw. I don't think we have a chainsaw, but you point to the corner where I usually keep my salon quality hair loss treatment, and I follow you back bent through the stairwell, revving lead teeth against a full set night. When we get to a gas station, you ask for some money and tell me that whenever the moon is so low and in focus, you feel like a Chinese war prisoner pulling live mice through a collapsing urinal hole. In my pockets, I don't have any money. I try to apologize, but you just sit on the curb listing all of the better sexual experiences you've had until I realize finally what the chainsaw is for. A few minutes later, I bring you a bag of cash, 3 wet cartons of cigarettes, and a thick black t-shirt with a fanged howling wolf ironed on in profile. With all the commotion, I say, I never got to check the size. It's okay, you respond. Sometimes my breasts remind you of terriers. These are the things I can tell the cops. This will be the last one. It's called Posterior Cruciate Sonnet. I want to again thank you guys for waiting for me, if that's in fact what happened. I want to thank Nick for inviting me to read. I think that this Bonk series is incredible. I think what you guys are doing here in this community is lovely. I know that a while back there was talk of these events losing funding, and I think that's really sad. And I hope that the city and the government, whether that's statewide or more local, realizes that these opportunities are wonderful for this community and that you guys continue to do in the future. So thank you very much for listening. Posterior Cruciate Sonnet. You empty the contents of the vacuum cleaner bag into 2 separate, smaller bags that we put around our mouths and huff until one of us passes out. I never see you fall out of the crutches, but that's because very quickly I'm on the tile floor, drooling my teeth over the small carpet squares we keep piled in front of the refrigerator. When I stand up, you ask me to participate in various competitions of skill and agility to prove considerable brain function and also that I'm not a pussy. For an hour, I carry duffel bags full of your sanitary waste to the river with flashlights stapled to my shoulders and a bullhorn rallying my breath. After that, I sleep with the neighbor while you show her kid a hot functioning menorah. When the cops come, I give everybody gifts I purchased in the beauty of unheralded economic decline. Your present is by far the most anticipated. You don't open it right away, but it's clear by morning you figured out how to put it all together. If the jetpack works, get quick to a city and buy into a co-op. I will only come looking for you once I've found a way to steal a mobile home and family. Look at me and these white gloves. I am a terrible thief, and yet